The consent calendar, all items are considered routine unless, or implemented earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested. With the council's permission, this time I'd like to do it a little differently. Connie, anything on the consent calendar that might be pertinent for the public to know? Maybe you could just talk about any particular items you see there.
Sure. So we've had some council member interest in giving the public a little bit of information about some of the items on the consent calendar. I'll just run through them very, very quickly. First, we have an item asking the City Council to accept a resolution to close out a contract. This was an important contract in our Crestmore 2 neighborhood that's part of the rebuild of that neighborhood that was devastated by explosion and fire. In particular, this was the contract associated with replacing sewer laterals in that neighborhood. It was an expensive undertaking, approximately $3.5 million in total. We reimbursed some property owners for their own work to replace their laterals, and the contract that we're closing out was for just over $2 million to replace the laterals by contract with the city, 163 laterals. A very successful, very time-consuming, and as I mentioned, quite expensive project that has...
Can you, since we're openly talking
Sure.
about all these, as far as, there are obviously some change orders.
Yes.
Which happens, but can you maybe, since we're educating everybody, maybe we could just explain as to why.
Sure. There was actually quite a lengthy list of change orders that are delineated in our written report. Those change orders total, I'm sorry, I can't. Those change orders actually total over just almost $900,000, which is very unusual, highly unusual. The reason for that is that there were a number of, this was a property owner discretion. Do you want to do it yourself? Do you want us to do it? And so there was a fair amount of flux in the numbers that we were doing and individual homeowner decisions. There was there was an extensive and costly amount of surface restoration work that was done. Redoing the lateral involves digging into landscaped and hardscaped areas on private property. So this was a very tricky and sensitive type of work that was done, and the change orders mostly result from that type of situation. Thank you. Next item on the consent calendar is appointment of Councilmember O'Connell to an additional 4-year term on the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency Board and the associated Bay Area Regional Water System Financing Authority. Councilwoman O'Connell has represented this community on BASCWA and its predecessor, BAWA, since 2002. She is one of the very few remaining original board members on the BASCWA board. And she recently served as the chair of that board. So the BASCWA is asking us to provide a 4-year term representative to that board, and Councilwoman O'Connell has identified her willingness to continue serving. And then lastly, on the consent calendar is a $22,800 grant fund acceptance and $23,999 appropriation from the Police Equipment Reserve Fund to replace our police body armor for our sworn personnel, a total of 57 units for all of our sworn police officers. That body armor, as you well know, is life-saving equipment. It is mandated to be worn on duty, and it is an important part of our public safety protection equipment. The body armor has reached the end of its useful life, or will reach the end of its useful life, and will no longer be under warranty as of June 30th, so this is an urgent situation. And lastly, on that topic, I received a question about whether our canines, the vests that we equip our canines with, Also need to be replacement. Are they included? And the answer is no. Our canines wear their vests infrequently, and they are not subject to the same type of wear and tear, and they're therefore the same type of replacement requirement. But they are also a valuable part of our public safety protective workforce, and we take care of them as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on consent or any action by the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.